The duodenum and now the pancreas, they're in the same slide, aren't they? They must be very closely associated to each other. And indeed they are, because you have the pancreas sitting in the concavity of the C-shaped duodenum. It sits just like that. Okay? So there actually is a connection between the two that we have to investigate, because if we've got all this pancreatic juice coming, it doesn't travel in the blood. It must travel into the duct system and then get into our lining over here, mucosa. All right, there's a picture of our duodenum, and how would you know that's the duodenum and not this jejunum? What do you notice immediately? You see duodenum, there's jejunum. Look at the extensive numbers of villi. See, extensive villi here compared to duodenum. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have absorption in the duodenum, because you actually do. Quite a bit of water is absorbed in there, quite a bit of nutrients are, but if you had to pick and choose, histologically it would be the jejunum, because of the extensive, now you can really see it, the extensive villi. And even the jejunum has the plica circularis, remember that? The extra folds, okay, that do not flatten out when you have food in there, like you picture in the stomach. That does happen. But these are permanent, they don't change shape. All right. And now this is the ileum. How do you know this is the ileum? These structures, right? Kyers patches. What happens in the distal ileum as far as absorption goes? As far as one thing that you want to know. Vitamin B12 is absorbed in there. Yes, vitamin B12. Okay, that is the fact. All right, so let's think about now the movement of the chyme as it's in the small intestine. Okay, we know that we have this chyme that travels from the stomach into the duodenum. If we're going to try to extract as many nutrients as we can from it, right, we may want to keep this chyme in contact with the mucosa as long as possible. So, what kind of movement might you want? A unidirectional one, like peristalsis, or would you want one that is bidirectional? If you can keep the chyme in contact with the mucosa as long as possible, you'd want bidirectional, right? So it moves it forward, moves it back, moves it forward, and moves it back. That's bidirectional movement, and that's what you want. We call that segmentation. Right? That's the kind of movement you see in the small intestine. You don't see it in the colon. Why would you not want to see that in the colon? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Everything that gets in the colon, for the, a few exceptions there, is going to be waste. So you want to keep moving it forward and back, do you? You want to move it forward, peristalsis. Okay? Now, I'm not saying peristalsis doesn't occur in the small intestine, because it does. But what doesn't occur anywhere else is segmentation. That always occurs in the small intestine, nowhere else. It does move our chyme forward and back, forward and back. Try to keep the chyme in contact with the mucosa as long as possible to extract as much nutrients from our chyme as much as we can. Okay? That is it. It is a segmentation. That's what you see in the duodenum and the jejunum and the ileum. You don't see it in the colon. Okay? Probably enough said on that, right? All right, well, let's get to the colon here. Large intestine, we don't have a small colon, right? We have a small intestine, we have a large intestine, over the colon, right? Or the entire bowel, if you want to say too. All right, so location, we know where it is. We have divisions here. There's our colon right here. We have the appendix, as I already mentioned before. We have, again, I'll go through the anatomy fairly quickly, but don't think that it's something to be forgotten, because you'll come across this in lab too, and sometimes that's the best place for it, but I have to address a little bit of it anyway in here. So we've got the cecum, first portion there. We have our ascending portion. Okay. We have a bend here at the liver, which is the hepatic flexure, or the right colic if you want it, doesn't matter. Transverse colon, our bend at the spleen, splenic flexure if you want. Descending colon, S-shaped sigmoid, which is all of that, or sometimes even called the pelvic colon, because it's well within the pelvis, which is the basin, right? Okay. And so there's our rectum down there. So we also can appreciate, at least from a gross perspective, some structures here that are easily identified. Little outpouchings right here called haustra. Haustra, little outpouchings that you can see. They are not associated at all. These are not pathologies. They're not associated at all with polyps. Not the same at all. Polyps are on the inside. Okay. These outpouchings are haustra. These are normal findings of every colon. If you saw the colon on the cadaver, you probably appreciated haustra very easily. And they're created by the contraction of this longitudinal muscle right here, which is called the tinea coli, which is right there. Longitudinal muscle. Easily seen on the model, on the cadaver, but a little bit of a challenge in the cat. Okay, you kind of got to get the right light on it to see it in the cat, but it can be identified. the tinea coli, easily seen on the model. So we've got now our bends, our portions of the colon, we've got the hostra, now we also though have the tinea coli. The last one here are little fat tags, which are these little yellow structures here, which you actually may call them fat tags, I'm okay with it, and their name is epiploic appendages, and you especially find them on the sigmoid colon right there, but they are found throughout the entire length, but especially there. Yes, question?
I have something to add that I saw last week.
All right, she's got something to add about epiploic appendages or fat tags?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I was in surgery last week and or in the OR, and they put the camera and I saw her large intestine and the epiploic appendages. They look like large fatty tongues.
Yes, they do indeed. Big, fatty, lingual-shaped structures.
She was kind of obese.
Yeah, well, yeah. They can change a little bit of size as far as that goes. She probably had a greater and greater momentum too, right? Yes. But they are fat tags. We all have these, but like you had said, they can change size to some degree on obese individuals, but that's what they are. They have to be storage for fat. Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right. So, any questions on the gross anatomy? So far, so good. What about histology? What kind of epithelium do you see in here? All of that, right? Simple columnar everywhere, isn't it? But what else do you notice here? All these white areas here, right? What are the white areas reflecting? Goblet cells, aren't they? All those are goblet cells. How come so extensive? How come so extensive? Why don't we see a whole bunch of goblet cells in here? They are there, but not extensive. This is for lubrication. All of that is. And there are identified goblet cells, aren't they? Okay, well, anyway, that's what you see there. Okay. Any absorption going on in the colon? Yes, it does absorb water. Most water, though, is absorbed in the small intestine, but the importance of the colon can't be minimized, because if the colon didn't absorb water, you'd have big trouble. What would you have? Diarrhea you'd have. So you depend on the colon to kind of shore things up if you want, tighten them up, kind of weird way of saying that, but shore things up, all right? And it does absorb water. Most water is absorbed in the small intestine, but you do have absorption occurring in the colon as far as water goes. Any other functions of the colon? You think it has resident bacteria in it? Resident flora? It does. And so it creates a couple of vitamins. They do. Vitamin K, right? And also some B vitamins too are made in the colon by resident flora in there as well. Okay. So we've got some absorption of water. We also though have now some B vitamins made, and vitamin K is also made there too in the colon. There's another picture of the lumen if you want. The lining, I suppose. We don't care about the lumen, but these. I probably should have removed that, but you do see some structures in here. Sometimes they're called crypts. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to ask you about that or talk. But you do recognize lots of goblet cells and, of course, simple columnar there as well. All right. Now we get to some accessory organs of digestion. So we got this conduit outlined, this tube, and we've got now some functions attributed to almost every area of our tube. Absorption, some mechanical, chemical digestion as well. Now we have to throw in the accessory organs of digestion. So I've listed the important ones here. Besides, you can think about the teeth and accessory structure too, and that's fine and dandy. But the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas. So if we look for this stuff is located, right? We have liver right upper quadrant, right? Take the liver, lift it up, and there's the gallbladder hiding underneath it. Okay. And then if we're looking for the pancreas, we take the stomach and flip it up like this, and there's the pancreas hiding. And it does sit, as you can see, in the concavity of the C-shaped duodenum, right there. Okay. So if you look closely at this pancreas and the duodenum here, you can also see that you've got some ducts. Okay, really one duct we care about. There are two, but one duct we have an interest in, which runs the entire length of this organ, called the pancreatic duct. Right? Tell me what goes through pancreatic duct, and even though it's identified here as main pancreatic duct, that's okay. I'm not going to get caught up in the semantics of that. But main pancreatic duct or pancreatic, tell me something that goes through that, collectively or otherwise. Pancreatic juice, yes, that's what would go through there. What would cause pancreatic juice to be released and travel in that duct? Well, the presence of fat that would end up in the chyme, so what would then kind of cause this juice to be delivered down? CCK would do that, yes, absolutely right, very good. Okay, all right, you also can notice here that, yes, we've got this duct identified. Now in this picture the liver is gone, okay, but you can even see here some ducts that would be associated with the liver, right and left hepatic ducts. Now the liver's gone, but the ducts are still there, okay? And if we put an arrow in here, you could put an arrow going down here, an arrow going down here, okay? Joined to make our common hepatic ducts, right and left hepatic ducts. What would be in our hepatic ducts, right and left, or the common hepatic duct? What would be in there? Any guesses? You kind of know this already, but just now we have to put it together. What would be in the right and left hepatic duct, or now the common hepatic duct? What substance? It would be bile. Bile is made in the liver and stored in the gallbladder, okay? Made in our liver right here, travels down these ducts, okay? And then you're maybe thinking, well, how does it get in the gallbladder? Well, we'll get there, okay? Now we have our common hepatic duct. Now before we figure out how that bile gets into the gallbladder, here's the gallbladder right here. We know that the gallbladder is this hollow organ. It must have a duct. Indeed it does, and that's a cystic duct. Cystic, okay? So when cystic joins common hepatic, you get common bile duct, which is not indicated here, but this is the common bile duct, all right? Where you have this duct joining a common hepatic duct, that's common bile. It just says bile duct. It should say common bile duct, okay? That's what that is. So that's common bile duct. What's in the common bile duct? Bile, of course, right? That's what it will be. So now, as our bile travels down here, we continue down here, we notice that our duct in the pancreas continues across the body. It joins, okay, actually it joins within the wall of this duodenum. You can't see this without cutting the wall of the duodenum open. But that joins this duct, pancreatic duct, with the common bile duct. It joins together in the wall of the duodenum, making this thing called the hepatopancreatic ampulla, right? This ampulla is just like an empty jug. That's what the word refers to, an empty jug, an ampulla, okay? That's all well and good, that's worth knowing. But around that ampulla is a circular muscle that we can call the hepatopancreatic